Welcome to Executive Insights. My guest today is Michelle Joliat, Senior Vice President, Product and Delivery with Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. In this episode, I chat with Michelle about her career journey, why networking is a major success factor. We also cover topics such as collaboration, change management, and talent. You won't want to miss it. Hi, Michelle. So great to see you again, and welcome to Executive Insights.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, Michelle, you've built quite an impressive career in management consulting and financial services, winning awards and accolades along the way. In fact, I remember when you and I first met, we both spoke at the Women in IT conference at the same panel. And that very evening, we shared a table at the award dinner where you won Woman of the Year. And I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna order what she's having. So, so last time when we spoke, you mentioned networking is a major success factor for you. Tell us more.
Yeah, that's really it's something that a lot of people think of as a bit of a hard thing to do, and it's a little bit dirty, and it's got a connotation to it that's not always positive. And I look at it as connecting with people. I think the relationships you build, and I mean the story you just told, and that was in the fall of 2019, I think, that we connected for the first time. And we've had multiple interactions since then, and I think it's because we built a relationship and we understood what each other were doing and followed each other along the way. And I think it's just that. And you don't understand or know when you build these relationships how they are going to, go in the future. But I think it's out of a deep attraction or like something that happens between two people where you can build this trust and this communication and everything else, and then it just goes. And so my entire life, from my first job to the job I have now, have been through networks. I think there's only been one job in my career that I haven't gotten through a network. And everything from when I moved to Boston to getting an apartment to actually meeting my husband through work colleagues, everything I've done in my whole life has been through networks. So I encourage people to keep them going. It's been really tough over the last couple of years, and it seems a bit uh, I don't know, difficult to have a relationship over a camera when you've spent your entire day working with people over Zoom meetings. But I think it's really important to start thinking about this in the future. And it's not just about what people can do for you, it's what you can do for them and giving back too.
Absolutely. So well said. And I think the ability to connect and network is so important, although that doesn't come naturally to everyone, but the willingness to put yourself out of the comfort zone is so critical. And reflecting on your career journey, was there a defining moment where, taking a risk and stepping out of the comfort zone might have paid off for you in a big way?
Yeah, I think actually taking risks is a really big part of my career. And so whether it's, moving into management consulting and moving to Boston from Toronto at the end of 2004 to do that, or actually leaving consulting and stepping into RBC, I think that was a really big one when I decided I wanted to, get off the road and settle down in Toronto and moved into RBC in 2011. I think that was a big risk that I took. And also when I got the opportunity to head up the first Agile lab at RBC in 2014 and subsequently build the Agile Center of Excellence. And so part of my own philosophy is, you've got to skate to where the puck is going. And so in order to keep changing and to keep, I guess, kind of reinventing myself, but keep discovering and keep learning, I tend to have jobs that haven't been in existence before. And out of my last 5 roles, only one of them ever existed before I built it. And so I'm constantly taking risks with the idea of what's the worst thing that can happen. And so I think knowing that a fallback plan is definitely there. And, if something doesn't work out, I'll figure it out. But I think that's what's also really fun in trying new things.
Yeah. And I totally love that philosophy. And I think I'm aligned with you. And that's why you and we tend to get along so well. And I see challenge really as an opportunity. And it's so much
Absolutely.
more rewarding when you embrace the challenge and see the progress you're making along the way.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's so fun because you don't know where you're going to go or where you're going to end up. But I love the different twists and turns and how I found myself in this role. I never could have anticipated this years ago.
Yeah, that's a great segue to my next question, actually. In your role as the SVP of product and delivery, you're sort of at this intersection between technology and different parts of the business. And to instill trust and partnership is so important that I think you're passionately advocating for. What steps have you taken since joining the teachers to foster a culture of collaboration?
Yeah, I love that question. We went through an organizational redesign to move to a product-based model last year. And so really at the heart of this is getting closer to our business partners, understanding where they're going as they forge their strategies, understanding why they're moving to do different things so that we can be right at the table to help them create solutions and to have an ongoing iteration with them and the real strong communication where we've got prototypes that we put in front of them faster that we can ideate and turn over more quickly and have that trust and communication with our business partners, but also within our own department. And so across IT and my product and delivery group and data and analytics, we have been breaking down silos and making sure that we've got representation at the table, and where we want to streamline meetings and make them a little bit more agile and scrappy, to trust that the people in the room will let us know when things are important and when we need to be included. So you break down all of that defensiveness when people aren't there and really work as one organization.
It sounds like you've made a lot of changes since coming to the organization, and change can be uncomfortable and scary for many people, and not everyone is jumping on the bandwagon right away, embracing new ideas and new ways of doing things. And from a leadership perspective, especially affecting the shift in mindset can be incredibly challenging. How are you addressing change management?
Yeah, it's been something that's been really important for me to drive, to really understand what people are thinking about, where their concerns are, and what drives them and what concerns I can help with. And so I have weekly coffee chats with a group of 6 or 7 people in my organization and take away the learnings from those, figure out how we can action them. We have surveys that are done on a monthly basis across the organization, and I read all the comments in those. I think it's also really important to build the trust with my employees and to be able to openly communicate where things are going, what's in it for them, and why they should care, what a day in the life of will look like in the future, and how change will really impact them. I also found with my leadership team when we were going through the org redesign that I said, you know what, this is the line where I will talk to you openly about, and then I'm going to go into a closed door session and you won't see me for a month or so, but just trust that I have your best interests at heart. And so I think it's being as open and honest as you can be about what's going on and how you feel about change, and that you do care about how your employees are reacting to everything.
Yeah. And the ability to listen and to communicate are really fundamental to create that level of trust. And, without trust, we can't attract talent. And without trust, we can't retain and develop talent. So we're getting to one of my favorite topics, which is talent. Recently I've seen a survey conducted by Ceridian of Canadian companies, over 100 employees, and the results are daunting. One of the data shows that 84% of our Canadian
Wow.
workforce is feeling some degree of burnout. And I don't know about you, but my common sense says when you have a workforce of 84% experiencing burnout, that cannot be good. That cannot
No,
be good for your people, for the organization, and
no.
for the business outcome. So, as a leader, a top performer, and a woman, you've changed jobs 9 times in 22 years. This is a two-part question. First part is what made you stay and what made you leave? And the second part is from a leadership perspective, how can we create conditions to allow people to not only want to stay, but can flourish?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, I have changed a bunch of jobs. A couple of them were for lifestyle changes. So moving out of consulting and really stopping traveling. So that was two of them. And others were really around culture fit and opportunity for the future. Do I see the ability to grow and flourish and be supported and have sponsorship in an organization? And is it a culture that I really believe in? And this sort of stems into the second part of the question around how important I believe culture is to an organization. I think having flexibility and really understanding what's important to our workforce moving forward and listening. I have coffee chats weekly with small groups of employees in my organization and listen to what they're concerned about and how I can start myth busting if that's important, or to start thinking about potential problems that could come up. I think being transparent and trustworthy and being a collaborative leader is really important. And I think being able to break down the hierarchy and to have people, an open door policy where they can come to me and I can help them solve problems and clear the way so that they never get to that point of burnout, I think is really, really important. And I think being authentic and vulnerable is important, and leading with psychological safety. And so as we want our employees to try new things and experiment, we're also going to have some failure. And how do we have the psychological safety so that people know that there's a net there for them and that we're going to support their growth and ongoing work? I also think bringing your whole self to work is really important. And this is something that it's tough to be vulnerable and transparent and to let people know sort of what's going on with me and some of the things that I've experienced in the past. But heading up our Women at Teachers ERG, and also being at this place, I think it's really important to share some of the experiences that I've had so that others don't have to go through the same challenges too. And so to be open and vulnerable, I think opens the door for everybody else to be open and vulnerable and to bring their whole selves to work. And I think that's what I want. And I want a culture where people want to come and want to stay. And so that's really important to me. And I feel very fortunate to be able to create this environment.
So well said. And I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Really appreciate your candor and honesty in sharing your story, experience, and perspectives. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been really enjoyable.
You've been watching another episode of Executive Insights by the IT Media Group. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out other content on our YouTube channel, including CIO roundtable conversations and executive interviews. And don't forget to subscribe.